It's being recorded. Do you have Zoom on your computer?
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to go join a meeting? And I'll give you the meeting ID. Once we have new microphones, I won't have to do this. We will actually just be able to use the nice new microphones without having to be logged in here.
Sure.
So hopefully this is the last time we have to do weird finagling and we could just have Zoom on yours and rock and roll.
I'm not sure it makes a difference, but Tom has the pro account, so I'm just going to log in under him. So that.
Oh, no, we're good.
Okay.
It doesn't matter because it'll be on our pro account.
Okay.
And then you'll join a meeting. And the meeting ID is 208 589 147. And then it'll ask you to log in and do all that fun stuff. And then 265 is the password.
A lot of people join.
Recording in progress.
Combo. And then what you'll want to do is actually mute both your microphone and the sound.
Okay.
Because you should, yeah, you should be good.
And
then you'll come
screen.
up here, and then you'll share screen from your computer. And we'll.
Oh, I'm glad you're here. I would never have been able to do all this.
That should switch over.
Okay. And I don't.
It's probably trying to.
Let's see if I can't.
I was going to say it's not detecting that little guy.
I typically have it face the other way. I don't know that makes a difference.
Try. I'm not a Mac person, so I sort of know at best. No, it's still. So maybe what we'll do.
It did say source detected.
It's detecting it, but it's not.
Okay.
So maybe what we'll do, since we got you on Zoom, we'll just we'll have you share your screen from your laptop, and then we'll put you up on top up here. So that way you're on video.
Okay, let me.
Yeah, so far so good.
Okay.
And you're on sound, on video, and you have yours, and you'll be able to hear everything.
Presenter view. Let's do that. New slideshow. Okay. Are we able to mute it until we start?
Yeah. So
just mute there.
Just
Good.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Hello, Mark's iPhone.
Hello.
We're going to start it in about 5 minutes, so you're welcome. I'll put you back on mute. Just saying hi. I'm Tom, by the way.
Hi, Tom.
Can you see me? Yes, kind of. I'm Tom Jeffroy from Branch Property Investigations. Today we want to talk about some of the changes that have happened in the market and what tools you have as realtors to adapt to that, how you can best help your clients, what we have learned through this process, and some together we can share lessons. This is intended to be an interactive discussion so we can learn from one another. You know some things and have seen things I haven't seen and vice versa. So let's all help one another, get through this market. It's if you're selling a house, wonderful market, right? Couldn't be better. If you're buying a house, it's the opposite. So we've come up with some proactive ways to help our clients and realtors to handle inspection needs in this market. So first, a little about myself. I'm Tom Jeffroy. I own and operate Branch Property Investigations along with a team of 3 others. Alicia is the brains of the operation, and she's usually the first person that you're going to talk to if you're calling our phone number, and she makes sure all the scheduling is done properly. And so I served in the Air Force many years ago. I have a bachelor's and master's in mechanical engineering. I was a mechanical engineer for about 12 years and got tired of sitting in an office and joined a buddy, and together we built a company in California originally, restoring damaged properties. So at the end of my time there, we had about 35 employees. We were doing about 1,000 properties a year. So it was a crazy wild ride. I learned so much. And I decided to apply that information and knowledge to home inspecting. So I've been doing that since 2015. So this is the start of year 7, which is amazing to think of. So I hold certifications and licenses in home inspecting, of course, radon testing. I'm a certified radon measurement provider in the state of Minnesota. I'm a certified mold tester, a certified microbial remediation supervisor. I serve as an expert witness for cases. I'm doing one right now. It's actually related to the riots. So there's dispute between tenants and the owner of the property, whether the properties are habitable or not. And interestingly, the owner is saying they're not, and the tenants are saying they are.
Wow.
And the owner is trying to vacate all their leases. So I've been hired as an expert to come in and opine whether they're habitable or not. So I do that on the side, in addition to running the company and helping to make sure everything runs well at Branch Property Investigations. So my wife works at a church, Grace Church in Eden Prairie, and we're active in ministry there. It's funny how many, we do some marriage counseling there, and in the last week I've done marriage counseling on the side with a variety of scenarios. So it's so that's a little about me, and this is our family. So here's my bride Shelly, 2 daughters. Tara just graduated from the Naval Academy, and she's now enlisted in the Navy. My daughter Lauren lives in South Carolina. Dalton is in the Air Force as what's called a lead gun on an AC-135 battleship. Wow. A job he loves. Yeah. And then Wyatt just graduated last month as an aerospace engineer. So our kids are all over the place, all over the country, sometimes the world. So Shelly and I are the ones that remain here in Minnesota. So
sent out your own troops.
Yeah. So tour in the military, tour or not. So today we're going to cover things that you know well. If you're in the market, buyers are waiving inspections at historic rates, never seen before. 30 to 40%, I've heard. Does anyone have a different number than 30 to 40%?
Yeah, I thought it was 47%.
Might be as high as that. Now, I have seen a little softening of that in the last couple of weeks. I think maybe there's a log or two starting to pop free from that log jam. But both from a professional and personal standpoint, waiving inspections, I understand the reality of it. You want to win the house. But I've heard of from another inspector, 2 young buyers buying their first home, waived inspection, got in the house and found there was so many issues they couldn't afford to fix them. Yeah. So they moved out of the house back into the parents' house, paying the mortgage in a house they can't live in and saving enough money so they can start fixing the issues they wanted to wear before they move in. That's the reality of buying without inspecting. So it creates risk scenarios, certainly for all people involved in the transaction, right? The buyer's realtor, you are put in an uncomfortable position because they're asking for your opinion about the house worthiness. And that's not what you're trained in, and some realtors know a ton about, a lot of them do, but not all of them, and that's not your specialty. Your specialty is the transaction and how to work all the details through for that. So you're put in an uncomfortable position, and people, you know, so that's the reality of it. This is happening. So how do we adapt to that? So one thing we recommend for sellers to be protected and also to accelerate a sale, because the problem with waiving inspections, buyers invent reasons to opt out of the transaction, right? You've probably heard of, yes, I closed, I got an offer accepted, way above listing, and I've heard time and again the buyers walk. So then you start the process over again. It sounds too good to be true, and often it is. So if you have a pre-listing inspection, we do this for sellers. Go through the house just as if somebody's buying the house. Same exact process. A fully, you know, categorized report with all the things we found, and we just did. I talked to a guy, did it for a couple months ago, and he just handed out our report to buyers and said, "Here's my disclosure, everything I know about the house," and sold it right away, no inspection, and so. And then another thing we do is walk-through consultation. So walk-through consultation is not an inspection. We're going to talk about that a little more, but I'm actually doing one right after this meeting. So it's usually done during a showing before the property and offer has been made. That's the best way to do it. And it's a verbal dump of what we see to a buyer and their agent. The agent has to be there, as we'll talk about. And then finally, we want to talk about inspection agreements a little bit, so you know what is in our agreement. And our agreement is based on an InterNACHI standard, which is used by a lot of inspectors. So we'll go into the buyer's waiving inspections first. So you made a non-contingent offer, is accepted. Everyone's happy. You won the deal. I'm actually inspecting a house, I think it's next week, where they've moved in, and now they're like, could you please come and inspect our house for us? So I strongly encourage you to recommend that to your buyers, saying, even though you won't be able to use this to get leverage from the seller, you're still going to learn a ton about your house you wouldn't know otherwise. Yeah. And so, like, I was looking at a report last night from one of our inspectors, Brent, and it was like 68 things he identified in the house that needed to be worked on. I did one yesterday that was 66 things. And a lot of these are smaller maintenance things that you can do yourself. Some of them are you can learn how to do on YouTube. But you have a great opportunity with this information to do things yourself. So the top priority of our home inspection is to discover safety and health issues. And the report does protect realtors and everyone in the chain from exposure, saying from a buyer saying later, no one informed me, right? It wasn't disclosed by the seller. My realtor didn't do their job representing me. The selling realtor didn't do their job advising their client. Who knows what things they could invent? But so that's why the home inspection process has become so popular, because it has these benefits. So we still think it's a wise idea, and we do it after the buyers have taken possession of the property. So here's what a report would look like if the buyers were to take advantage of it. So, so if we're doing like a walkthrough consultation, we will go and say, here's what we see, and we'll go through these things verbally. But how much information can you absorb in an hour? Like after about 20 things, you're like, I've lost track of what he's saying anymore. And we encourage people to take notes in that process. But this is the report summary. A full report is going to give all that information, photos, details that and even videos that you'd want to have. So that's so I have a friend that bought his house about 4 years ago. He had it inspected. And it's up in Hopkins, and it wasn't a very nice house. You know, he's a first-time home buyer, and found a lot of things that needed to be improved, including some major grading issues, which came true, unfortunately, about a few months later, and his whole face was flooded. And so he's worked on it since then, and now he's improved the house. He says he just uses my report as a guide, and I got this one checked off. Now I work on the next one. I'm going to check that one off, and says about halfway through the report in 4 years. So that's the other hidden benefit of those reports. It helps in budgeting, those kinds of things. So while it's a reality that that buyers are waiving inspections, some have no choice. You know, I've talked to some of our clients. How many offers you made? I've made 26. You've made 20. Think how many properties they've had to look at. And you know, some of them are, you know, they don't have the best credit. They don't have a lot of down payment. So they just have to shoot enough arrows and hope that one of them is going to hit the target. So, so is there a difference between a pre-listing, which we talked about, and a buyer's home inspection? So there is a difference in the following thing. We have access to this seller in a pre-listing inspection, and they know stuff about the property that they can help educate us about the property in ways that we can't for a buyer. But that's really the only difference. We inspect the house exactly the same, except we can ask those questions and get more background history about the property. So we check all the major systems in the house. We treat it the exact same report is issued. Sometimes the advantage of doing a pre-listing inspection, you have a lot more flexibility as to when to schedule it, right? You know, I think I'm going to list my property in September. Okay, we scheduled an inspection for September, I think, this week, didn't we?
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, you know, we'll keep track of that. So, and ideally you want the seller to schedule it far enough ahead of when they're putting it on the market, that they have time to fix stuff. Because that's a key advantage of a pre-listing inspection. Fix the easy stuff, the low-hanging fruit, take them off the list, it provides good confidence to buyers that you're somebody that maintains the property well, and it ultimately results in more money in your pocket as a seller. So,
would this be a time I could ask a question
absolutely.
about a pre-closing
Anytime.
inspection? Okay, thank you. The seller can do a seller's disclosure alternative if they haven't lived in the property or if they provide this pre-closing. Do you do a lot of those?
You know, I have a friend, so I'm going to tell you some stories.
Okay.
So this friend, his neighbor passed away, and neighbor has no relatives living in the country. And so his relatives asked him to help handle the transaction. He found a realtor. He's persuaded them to have me do a pre-listing inspection just to make sure they're not, even though they're doing an alternative disclosure, because none of them lived in the property, right? But the best way to stay protected is to give as much information as possible to the buyer. The more information you can give to the buyer, right, you think it's going to affect the purchase price, but in this market, buyers are going to pay extra in almost any scenario, unless it's huge problem for the house, which is quite rare. So I think it makes sense even with an alternative disclosure, but it's not as high. I wouldn't say it's the same as a full disclosure.
Okay.
So it's because the alternative disclosure is designed for those situations where a seller can legitimately say, I don't know about the property condition.
Right. Okay.
So,
thank you.
Does the seller have to disclose all the defects listed in the pre-listing inspection report? So you're the realtor representing the seller. You have to advise them properly, right? You know how this works. So there is a legal duty to disclose to buyers any property issues revealed in a pre-listing inspection. So when I first started doing this, I would offer two options. I would offer the verbal option where I don't provide a written report. You do with the information what you will, or I'll provide a written report. Some sellers didn't want it in writing, because then there's a paper trail, right, that can be tied back to them. And I said, I don't want to do business that way. You know, if I've told you, I've told you. You know, so use it as an advantage. It can really be an advantage. It could help the less likely for a buyer back out, more likely for the property to close quickly. You know, so and then they can choose to repair or just disclose. Because if you disclose, it's not usually in this market going to affect the listing price significantly. So no matter which route the sellers choose, being transparent, we believe, is going to help create more confidence in buyers and lower their fear level that they're buying a house that they don't know a lot about. So have you guys had much experience doing pre-listing inspections?
I really haven't. I mean, up until this surge.
I think it's a hidden gem of differentiation for selling agents. Hasn't been as needed in today's market because just about anything's going to sell eventually. Hopefully stay sold. But you know, how you differentiate based on, you know, you create the visual appeal, curbside appeal, you try to do great photos, you try to stage the house, all these things to make the house more saleable. Well, I believe that pre-listing inspection falls right into that because it makes the property more saleable because you can show the report and even click, here's the items we fixed since we got this report, now that we know about them. Here's the ones that we want to let you know about and that you can fix down the road. So
how many people do you feel like do that every?
I'd say it's at most 5% of our business right now.
Okay, wow, that's pretty low.
Yeah, because I don't think a lot of sellers or selling agents even conceive of that possibility of doing it. Right now, you say, why should I bother doing a pre-listing inspection?
But interesting, the agents who have used us for it continue to use us for it because they see the value in it.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of
people
repeat.
are scared to do it because if they get something back, then they know. But if they didn't do it, then they know that they could get an accepted offer without an inspection. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yeah,
Do
that's-
you feel like
I would
that's,
think so.
yeah.
Yeah, a lot depends on how you're wired. Some people want to do the best possible job for the next buyer.
Right.
And so they're really excited about doing pre-listings. They want to turn the house over in a clean condition, as clean as they can.
Right.
If you have a seller like that, then a pre-listing is absolutely the right thing for them because they will feel good about the transaction process internally, more than the money aspect. So,
Well, I think they're in our neighborhood. I think they might have done one because they purchased the house, I think for $340, but $8,000. They had to pay $8,000 back. Like, I don't know if it was already just, well, obviously, like, I think it was, I don't know what it was. I think it was some outside maintenance or possibly an older furnace. And the sellers had to pay, or made an agreement to pay like $8,000 for repairs or whatnot. So that was in the offer. I guess the buyer's offer was, we'll go at $340, but will you give us cash in hand back to fix these repairs that are known? So I don't know how else they would have done that, but.
well, the pre-listing report can give you a negotiating advantage in the following way. You say, here's what it is, make your offer, having this disclosed to you, recognizing the things that have been fixed in the property. Don't ask us to fix any of the stuff, because you already know about it before you make your offer.
Right.
So there's some, that gives you a strength in negotiation perhaps that you wouldn't have otherwise.
Yeah.
So, and some sellers think the buyer's gonna have their own inspection, so I don't need this, you know, why pay twice for the same thing? It really comes down to, if you fix things yourself or with a handyman, you have time to schedule it, you're not gonna be nickel and dimed after the inspection in the same way you would with a buyer inspector. And then we have heard from realtors that the reports, when you have a pre-listing report, the properties sell more quickly, and there's fewer inspection related issues that come out afterwards. So That's, so you have a clean and actually completed transaction rather than one that failed along the way. So it's to consider, I think it's, for me, I've always been surprised this isn't more popular because I think that there's a lot of compelling advantages. I would think it would be at least a quarter of my business instead of such a little percentage. So if you do reveal significant defects, you can see here's one. Like, what the heck is this? This gigantic crack in the foundation.
It's a new foundation.
Yes, it was a newer home. And what happened was the builder messed up.
Wow.
And they, it must have been a heavy piece of mechanical equipment that cracked the foundation. And so this is a repair job that the builder did to the foundation after the, a recently built home. So they had to certify and provide, engineer support that the repair technique they did was valid. But, if you're a seller, do you want to disclose this? Absolutely. Absolutely. Because this is where I get hired as an expert on the other side. Failing to disclose, seller new, and just gobs of money spent on people like me and lawyers and just trying to figure out whose fault it is. And nobody wins in that situation. It's just a lose-lose. So, and then if you have active leaks going on, you want to make sure those are addressed because you're still on the hook for those until the property closes. So, but you don't need to fix the defects. That's the key part. Like people think, oh, I got all this information, I'm supposed to fix it. No, just disclose it. You're covered. Once you disclose it, you're covered. And and you're helping the buyer out. The more informed the buyer is, and then you as realtors, don't replace this window for $1,200. You're not going to get that $1,200 back. So just disclose that there's a failed seal in this window, and then factor your price accordingly. So,
I got a question.
Sure.
So I have a friend he's looking to sell, but he didn't take out a lot of permits on stuff that he did.
Mm-hmm.
And would this be something that would kind of protect him for not having to deal with that stuff?
Yeah,
not taking out
I'd
those?
have to say no.
Okay.
So we're not permitting inspectors by any means. We don't have the rights. We don't have the certification or credentials to do a city mandated inspection.
Right.
But it can increase confidence if it's unpermitted that the work is done properly.
Right.
So the wiring is done, all the grounding is done properly. There's no reverse polarity or tripping GFCIs, things like that. So I think it helps, but it doesn't solve the problem of no permits. But there's a lot of unpermitted work that goes on. We've all seen it.
Yeah.
Homeowner specials all the time.
Do you want to click on that question down
I
there?
think I can
Oh, can you see?
probably guess what the rest of the question is. So this is Christina, thank you for the question. I think you're asking about the city mandated pre-listing inspections that, like Tish,
Oh,
in Bloomington, it's called time of sale. What's the difference between that and a pre-listing inspection? If I got that right.
Yes. Yes, that's right.
Thanks. Because I do time of sale inspections in Bloomington, so I'm well familiar with that process. I'm not a Tish inspector. I chose not to do that. It's not what doesn't excite me. So, but there's a very specific checklist of safety items that the city wants to have, smoke detectors, GFCIs, structural issues, chimney issues, things that could potentially hurt somebody. They want to make sure are tested and checked out. So that inspection usually takes between an hour and a half. You're ignoring a lot of stuff, but you are focusing very specifically on some important things. So the difference is a pre-listing inspection is more comprehensive. So like in a pre-listing inspection or an average size home of 2,500 square feet or less, I'm there for 3 hours before I even get to the point of meeting with the client. Where a time of sale or a TISH inspection, I'd be there for an hour and a half tops. So I find a lot more stuff in 3 hours than an hour and a half. They're also less expensive. So my time of sale inspection fee, I think is $220. A pre-listing inspection is like $400. So because it recognizes the report's much easier to write for a TISH or a time of sale, it's just a checklist you're kind of filling out. Where you don't get photos, there's a lot of context that's missing. So the pre-listing is, I think, more informative and educational, but and it covers pretty much all of what a TISH or a time of sale report would be. Hope that helps, Christina. Thanks for the question.
Thank you.
So walkthrough consultations. There's a huge dispute in inspector land about whether you should offer these or not. I've been part of these long email chains from inspector groups saying we're watering down our profession if we do walkthrough consultations because they're taking a lesser product that's cheaper, but they don't get a lot of the benefit of a real inspection, which is the written report and a much more comprehensive look at the house. So we wrestled with it for many weeks. We had to talk closely with our insurance carriers and make sure that we were covered. We actually had to switch insurance carriers because this is an unusual product. And so we learned through that process what a walkthrough consultation could or couldn't be. So it's a visual consultation with a trained eye, but we never call it an inspection because it is not an inspection. An inspection, so what else is it? So we got buyers gain more info. Certainly with somebody that's inspected, like in my case, 1,500 or so properties, you'll gain a lot more info than you would on your own. We're up to 60 minutes on site, so it's within a showing window. Sometimes it's crazy like this. I've been in houses where there's at least a dozen people in the house at the same time. And I'm doing a walkthrough consultation with our client and realtor. And there's people kind of standing back, listening to everything I'm saying. And it's not a private conversation in every case. Wow. Because you can't get private showings in every case right now, right? You know that better than me. So, and we have to limit it to 60 minutes because one, that's usually the maximum showing time that sellers are going to be happy to have. And so we, because we are not agents, we can't schedule an inspection on a property that is under contract. We can't do the showing time. We can't open the lockbox. So the realtor has to be there. Once it's under contract, we can use showing time and schedule the whole thing. But until then, so the first realtor, one of the first realtors having to do this said, just schedule it and take care of it. I go, no, it doesn't work that way. I don't have the authority to be in the house. So the agents have to be there. Now, they don't have to necessarily be walking with us the whole time. Some are on the phones or in the cars, but they have to be at the property. So,
How many agents do you say do that option in this market?
Yeah, how much of your business comes from?
well, I think we've probably done 50 or so of these over the last 3 or 4 months. So, and we've learned some lessons along the way.
Yeah.
So they're usually for urgent purchase situations. So we get a call at 4 o'clock. I got a showing scheduled tonight. Can you be there? It's like, huh. So it's really hard on us as an inspection company to allocate resources for that.
Yeah.
And a lot of these happen on the weekends.
Yeah.
So you have to be willing to work weekends and into evenings. One of our inspectors, Todd, this guy in the picture, he's really good at these and loves doing them. And so he does more of them than I do, for sure. Our fee is $200 to do this. So
200, you said?
200. So because just driving to and from the house takes a fair amount of time and then an hour on site. So the reason that we don't promote this as much as we could is I don't think it's the best value proposition for buyers because they get nothing in writing at the end of the day, except whatever they take in notes themselves. And there's no pictures. And there's context, because we get to talk through what we see and why and ways they can fix it. But there isn't, so I like the full inspection better, but we also recognize this is way better than nothing. And too many buyers are going in with nothing. So that's why we created the product, because after we listened to all the debates from inspectors, at the end of the day, we're here to help people going through the purchase process. If this is going to help them, then let's do it. And we'll figure out a way to make it happen. So that's why we do it. So there are, however, some limitations to what you can do in a walkthrough consultation. There's no written report because it's not an inspection. We can't pull a ladder out and say, I'm going on the roof. Although this has happened in showings. An inspector tries to do a real inspection in 30 minutes, which he can't do physically. We don't do in the attic. Had a realtor that hired us to do a walkthrough consult. Go ahead.
Sorry, I have a question. Can that inspector get in trouble? I mean, doing that full inspection without
Absolutely.
fully disclosing to them
Yes.
that they were,
It has to be requested through the seller. It has to be,
Okay.
permission has to be granted by the seller.
okay, yeah.
I have just a quick story, just
Go ahead.
a thing that happened. It didn't happen to me, but an agent in this office. She showed a property to her buyers. And another agent had shown a property and brought an inspector. And they went up in the attic and then made a mess in the kid's closet and stuff like that with all the attitude stuff coming down. And they have a Ring doorbell, so they knew what agent did it. So that listing agent sent out an email to everybody who showed the house and said, you know, one of you brought in your inspector and did this without our permission and made a mess and blah, blah, blah. The rest of you, please have your offers in by such and such a date. So those people were, if they were gonna make an offer, they were not considered.
Wow.
We had a realtor insisted that we bring a ladder to the inspection to check the attic. He says you can't make an offer without seeing the attic. I said, we're not doing it. So the realtor brought his own ladder and the attic himself, and you know, it didn't. So
What do you even look?
so
How do you know? I wouldn't know.
well, he's been this realtor's been around for a long time.
Yeah.
There's a lot to look for.
Well, I know there is, I however would not. I would be like, okay.
So this is typically a fail if it's the first visit to the property. Because the buyer doesn't even know if they want the house yet, and they're paying $200 for one of our guys to show up and tell them all the things wrong with the house. Right as they're getting excited for it, it's a fail. So don't make us the first visit. So have a showing, make sure your clients like the house, schedule a second showing, have us come and help. And that's the way these work best. Any questions about the process?
I just had a closing, I'm coming up just.
That's all right. We're talking, have you done or heard of walkthrough consultations?
I mean, is it inspections or?
It's, we don't like to use the word inspection because that implies a written report. Walkthrough consultation is a verbal 1 hour look through of a property.
Oh, yeah, I didn't call it that, but yes.
Yes. So actually, Structure Tech coined this term, and we liked it enough that we just said,
Yeah.
let's stick with that verbiage. Everyone will hopefully come up with common language. So in whatever we do, we always have to have our clients sign an agreement. We won't come to the job for a walkthrough consultation without a signed agreement. We won't come to the job for an inspection without a signed agreement. We want them to be fully informed of what the walkthrough consultation is or isn't, or for a full home inspection, what it covers and what it doesn't cover. And so there's no, properly setting expectations and making sure you're covered legally is a very important part of, staying as an ongoing business for many years in the future. So we're going to talk now about inspection agreements. This is one of the most boring topics in inspection land. But we do follow the InterNACHI standard practice, which is important to have something that provides not just your own opinion as to what an inspection should cover, but the ASHRAE InterNACHI standard practice that's well used in the field. So our agreement advises what we will inspect, what we won't inspect, and lets people know we can only inspect what's accessible. Like, we've all been in houses where the attic hatch is sealed. We want to get in the attic. So we've developed our process. We look for the attic hatch, it's sealed. We immediately text the selling realtor. Can we have permission to access it? Cut the seal, go in the attic. We're not repairing the seal. There will be damage to the paint and texture perhaps, but we have permission from the seller to do that. And sometimes they say no, but we try. And most times they say yes. And so we are able to cut and go and access the attic. But sometimes the buyers have done nothing, or the sellers have done nothing to anticipate us coming. Panels are completely covered with contents. The closets are stuffed to the gills. You can't even get to the attic hatch. And so we can't always inspect what we're trying to inspect. And so we're trying to make sure people understand we have to be able to get to it without moving a ton of contents from the cellar.
Well, in the winter too, like.
In the winter, yes.
Does that limit you a
certainly-
lot on the
Yeah,
outside?
we'll put in our disclosures that the roof's covered, you can't see the roof. The exterior grounds are covered, you know, but, and then we've had numerous clients ask us to do pest inspections while we're doing a home inspection. And we are not pest inspectors. So we'll look, like if I'm in an attic, I'll look for mouse droppings, I'll look for tunnels, I'll look for traps that are being set. And if I see them, I'm telling our clients about it. But that doesn't mean I found every possible instance. So we're not pest inspectors. Now we do radon testing. So if we're asked to do it, we can do radon testing. I do mold testing. If I'm asked to do it, I can do mold testing. We don't do lead or asbestos testing. So go ahead.
I'm sorry, that just answered it. Lead. I was gonna ask about lead-based paint.
Yes,
You don't do that.
don't do it.
Are there many companies that do? I mean, almost everyone waives their right to inspect for lead-based paint.
Well, the problem with doing lead-based paint or asbestos inspections, you're supposed to be certified to do that. And in the case of asbestos, you're supposed to be licensed to do it as well. And so the process of getting that license is onerous. And so most inspectors aren't interested in doing that for a small side part of the business. And I'm not, so.
Okay.
We do have on our website a resources page that does list someone local that does do that sort of testing. So you at least have a.
Do you do sewer line inspections? Probably
Not yet. So I don't know if you've heard of the company Ron the Sewer Rat.
Oh, yeah.
So we refer them out a lot and we accommodate them so they can be at the inspection the same time as us. Come on in, you know, we've been in dozens of homes with them at this point, if not hundreds. And so it's okay to schedule a sewer line at the same time we're there. You don't have to come to the house. The door will be open. Well, you know, we work well with not just Ron the Sewer, but they're probably the biggest one we work with.
I have to give it to them though. Names are kind of hard to remember and that one's really easy to remember.
Yeah. First time I heard it, I've never forgotten it.
Right? Same.
Yes. And some people are like, oh, who would name their company that? That's like the worst name ever. And I go, that's the best. You always remember it.
It's memorable, yeah.
So I'm a mechanical engineer, but I don't perform engineering on a property. I'm not a structural engineer. I'm not licensed to do that. So if we encounter foundation issues, we're saying get an expert out here. We're not that. We're not architects.
What are the names of the structural engineers companies again? I remember you referenced the one that I.
One is Encompass, that's a large firm here in Minneapolis, and they have many engineers working for them.
Wasn't there one called something with the basement?
Let's see.
Safe basement?
Safe Basements, we are on a list. Good luck getting them to a house.
Well, I thought I did. I
There's
had
another
someone
one-
come out, but I'm trying to figure out because I want to get my report and I can't find it.
There was another one called Innovative Basements that we used to refer out, but I think there was a negative experience with them.
Yeah.
So
I have to remember.
Are they
thought it
still on
was
the
Safe
list?
Basement that year.
Innovative Basements.
It doesn't ring a bell, so I don't believe so.
It's also, I think, called Jesse Treble Safe Basements, if that rings more of a bell.
Yes, Jesse Treble is, I think, the owner of Safe Basements, right?
Must be.
Yeah. he's come and spoke to our inspector group a couple of times, and I learned a ton. One, it made me less anxious about structural issues in a house, because the houses that are difficult to fix from a foundation perspective are stone foundations, like built before 1920, we'll say, because those can't be reinforced. Well, I've seen a stone house that had a crumbly foundation. They actually built a block wall foundation inside the stone foundation because you couldn't shore up the stone. There's nothing like a block foundation. You can put these steel pylons into the ground and then attach brackets to the wall and tighten the wall up, even if it's bowing in, bowing out, cracks, and stabilize the whole thing. And you're not tearing the wall down, you just stabilize it again. But you can't do that with stone. So that was one of the things I learned from Jesse Trouble with the inspector. I actually have been a general contractor in California, and I took the license test in Minnesota to become a general contractor and passed it. And then I said, how does that help my clients? And does it expose me to further claims that as a general contractor, I should have told them more than I do as a home inspector. So I never actually got licensed in this state, but we don't apply any of those licenses in an inspection. So we're just being hired for the visual home inspection that we talked about. There's another slide. So one of the different things about our company is we offer a buy your home back guarantee. So if we should have seen something would have stopped you from buying the house. And you move in, and within the first 90 days, you go, wait, there's like this giant patch of mold that was right in front of them. How do they miss it? I never would have moved here if I knew there was a giant patch of mold right here. Then you call us up and say, I don't want to live here anymore. And there's a couple of exclusions, so you have to read the fine print. But we'll buy the house back if we should have found it and didn't advise you properly as your inspectors, because we want to be trusted. We want you to be confident, and we know that there's an out clause for you somebody getting upon the house, and we should have found it. Now it can't be hidden damage, like something is disclosed under the insulation that you couldn't see or something like that. So, and the home must be listed for sale with a license for stage. It can't be an off-market transaction. So, right? So how do you schedule? With our company, we make it easy online. You just go to our website. There's a schedule now button that looks like this. Click on it, and we have 3 inspectors, all have different schedules, and usually you can find somebody within 2 days, come to a house and check it out. Somebody called me this morning, I get inspected in 5 days, can you do it? How's tomorrow sound? Oh, wait. So, because there's 3 of us now, we have capacity. So, in addition to scheduling home inspections, you can also schedule radon testing either at the same time or separately. We do moisture intrusion investigations. I spent 20 years drying out properties and figuring out why they were getting wet in the first place. Usually it's very evident, but not always. And then we do mold testing with air or surface sampling on site to try to help further give information to our clients. So, and then you can always use the phone number, and Alicia can guide you through that process.
And if you are interested in one of those walkthrough consultations, that's sort of a last minute, I would recommend, I'll pass out my card here at the end, but plug my number in. You can shoot me a text. Can you get someone yet today, first thing tomorrow? And I try to be as responsive as possible because I know these are extremely timely. So, yeah.
So keep this number because that's the only way you can schedule a walkthrough consultation. We don't have the online provision because it's so bam that we need to call in inspectors, see who's available, getting the property information, making sure the client is going to sign the inspection, the walkthrough consultation agreement. And so that all has to happen through Alicia typically. And so if she's not involved, it's usually not happening. So do we have any, let's see. So here's our team. Todd, Brent, Alicia. So it's been rewarding to see the process of a one-person company becoming a team of people working together for the same result. So our motto is our clients deserve to know. when we don't feel like yesterday I had to go in an attic when it was like 110 plus. And I asked the seller, he happened to be home. I said, when's the last time you've been in this attic? He said, I've never been in the attic. So it's dirty and disgusting. I got covered with stuff. I knew I had to go up there because our clients deserve to know. And that, attic provides important clues. I found some stuff in there they wouldn't have known otherwise. So I got to do it. Don't like it, too bad. So.
I have 2 questions, I think they'll be quick.
Sure.
Where do you start when testing for mold? I mean, everyone speculates that there's mold growing on the block foundation and there's mold between the poly and the insulation and the unfinished basement. Like, how do we set their minds at ease? And then how would you go about, like, what's your first line level of testing?
My first line is not to test yet. If you can see it visually, there's really little reason to test, in my opinion. You know it's there. Why spend the money to tell you it's there when you can see it? It's when you can't see it, when you can smell this odor, like a musty smell. We all smell that dank basement smell. And you're trying to figure out how much is in here. Is it significant? I was in a log cabin out near Hastings last year, and that had a deck built above this basement room. The deck was leaking, but you couldn't tell visually. But it just smelled off. And when I got the mold test results, I was like, oh my goodness, yes, it's buried up here in the ceiling somewhere. There's got to be something we can't see.
So you have like a moisture meter?
I always bring moisture meters and an infrared camera, because knowing there's mold and not knowing how to solve it, that's one of the advantages I bring, because I used to clean up mold for so many years, or lead teams that did it, that I can talk through the process of how you clean it up. Like,
so when you see that white stuff on a block foundation in a mechanical room of a basement, is that mold? Or is that
usually
just,
not.
right? And then how
Sometimes
about
it
the
is.
black spots on the insulation or the poly and the?
That's more likely, but it can be air filtration as well. So, I mean, are all houses breathe so you can get dust going in through wall cavities and then collecting and looking like it's mold, but it's just collected dust. That was disgusting. But and then the white stuff is usually called efflorescence, which is the line deposits in block or concrete. As they get activated by moisture, the water pressure can force them in, and you can see a line of white on block or sometimes concrete. Now, mold does come in all colors, so you can find white mold as well. Poria is a white mold. It's really hard to get rid of. So
My second question, hopefully it's even quicker. I feel like on home inspection reports, you inspectors tell us all the time that the outlets have to be changed to a GFI. Do they really?
well, what's our most important function is a home inspector, in my opinion, is to make sure somebody doesn't get killed. That's where GFCIs, that's why they were invented. People die because they didn't have GFCIs. You dropped a blender in a sink of water, you were on the phone in your tub, you didn't notice that your hair dryer was falling in, who knows? So it's to protect our clients. So it's not just because we're trying to show how much we know about houses. It's really, I just replaced GFCIs in my rental home, in the laundry room, the garage. Are they needed?
But it's easy enough to do. I mean, it's just literally switching out the
It's
actual outlet.
not as
and
easy as I
change the
thought.
wiring.
But I told people you can do it yourself, and I said, well, in theory you can. So I said, I'm going to do it myself. And then I thought it would take 5 minutes. It took like 45 minutes. So it takes 5 minutes from somebody who knows what they're doing.
And you only have to do them around water, right?
So it used to be within 6 feet of any water source.
Okay.
But now it's exteriors, garages, laundry rooms. All of kitchens are now required, every outlet in the kitchen, all the bathroom outlets.
I noticed in my house, it was built just last year. We have all of our kitchen plugins are underneath our kitchen cabinets. And they're like long strip plugins. I don't see a GFCI thingamabobber on those.
It doesn't have to be in the power strip as long as it's connected electrically to one that is.
Oh, so there's
On the
somewhere
circuit.
in that area.
It's called a GFCI in series. So you have GFCI in the front, and then you can put all these other things after it. They're all protected by that single
Oh, that
GFCI.
makes sense.
So,
I think they did that in a bathroom too, where there's not GFCIs, but there's this like
Very
funky
common.
little box, like. it-
sometimes there's one protected bathroom in the house, but it connects the other three. So I've seen one bathroom for all four
Got it.
that connects all four.
Which is why when I overheat my hair dryer and my outlet goes, I have to run downstairs because it's on the same circuit as my freezer.
Annoying
And I,
Ah,
and
yeah,
dangerous.
right, well, I learned, the first time I found melted ice cream falling out of my freezer, I was like, what in the world? And it was my daughter's curling iron that had been plugged in too long.
Huh.
Wow.
So
you could fix that.
it has been fixed,
It'll
yes,
take her more than 45 minutes.
yeah. Now I know
Actually-
someone who can do it for me.
Either of these guys they're way more knowledgeable about parts of houses than I am. When it comes to electrical systems, they've both done more work themselves in their own homes than I have. But they inspired me, like, you can do this. I'm like, yeah, I can do that. Usually I'm the guy that knows how it's supposed to be, but doesn't like doing it. I always just hire people. They encourage me to do it myself. So I am doing all that. Any other questions? Because this is, it's been a great thing to learn from you as well.
Yeah. What would you, probably the last question, but what would you do? What would you say to the real estate agent that's like, I hear what you're saying on inspections and that they're needed, and that obviously as a seller to tell the future buyer like everything, because if I were buying the home, I would want everything disclosed to me too. And you see the benefit of it after it closes, less arbitration reason, less lawyer, less all these things. But what would you tell them that they're like, in this market, we don't necessarily always have, like you said, like some people don't have a choice of, they just have to get their offer in and they're just shooting as many as they can until it gets accepted. And they have little time where like that morning it comes on the market and they're like, you have to go see it tonight, put in an offer tonight, no inspection. What would you, I don't know, what would you say to that agent that's like, you get this market, you know, do you just suggest doing that walkthrough type of thing? Or, I don't know, I guess I don't know my question, I'm just trying to.
Yeah, so I had a client that bought a $2 million Lake Minnetonka home, no inspection. It's like, what, are you crazy? They've been looking for a house in Lake Minnetonka for 10 years. They looked at house after house after house. One came on the market on a Friday. On Saturday, there was 3 interested parties. It wasn't even listed. And they knew they had to be aggressive in their bid. They'd be waiting another who knows how long. So they bought it, no inspection. Then they hired me, and I came in and inspected for them. And then they knew then a lot of the things that were, you know, needed to be addressed. And they understood that that was a risk they were taking on.
Yeah.
And it turned out to be a really good decision for them because they got the house. And it's a beautiful home, in a great location. And there wasn't a ton to do in the house, fortunately. So, and they knew the builder and they knew of his reputation. So they weren't ignorant.
Yeah.
They just made a choice. So, and I made the same choice. You know, you want the house, how much risk can you tolerate? You got, if you don't have the means to handle surprises, then it becomes much more important to know more at the front end. So if your clients don't have the means to handle, there's a $5,000 surprise that just arrived, you know, the air conditioner's out, it's too old, then have that walkthrough consultation.
You guys don't do anything like,
A perfect answer to your question.
Yeah.
It's okay not to do it.
Mhm.
You just have to have tons of savings
Mhm.
and anticipate the unexpected.
Right.
do you guys do anything like, just like answer their questions, like you see a crack? Or like some, you know, like, are you on call for something like that where,
That'd
or
be the
offer
walk-
anything like that? Well, I was saying the walkthrough, but if like,
For
you
certain
could get there in
realtors,
person.
we are,
Yeah.
that, you know, have used this a lot, you know, and we have developed a relationship of trust over the years. And I know that they're not taking advantage of it, but they're and we'll help a new realtor that, you know, if you're going to a house and you see something weird, shoot a text and we'll take a look at a picture and we'll, you know, in the hope of building a relationship. But if you do it and never send us a client, then we probably won't be talking for very much longer.
Yeah,
So it's just the realities of how much time you have.
totally.
So you just suggested
Return on investment.
give your client, just disclose to the client that, I mean, obviously that they're taking that risk.
Yep.
But that you suggest to do an inspection after you close,
Mhm.
just so that you have the knowledge of, you know,
And you
and
can
you have to have the
budget,
means to do it as well.
you can budget for the future too. Like, here's the things that are coming. Let's not put $30,000 into home furnishings and then not have any money left for the roof that's about to go
Right.
out. You know, that's the key advantage in that. After you've done a no contingency inspection, still do an inspection so you know what remaining investment's gonna be in that house, at least in the short term.
Right. Do you see that in the if doing that in the later term of it, like there is less back and forth, like for a buyer who has something wrong with the house, going after the seller and the real estate
I don't know,
agent?
it's not gonna help the seller very much. It's really, because like, we were hired this week to do an inspection on Friday. Buyer made a non-contingent offer on a townhome. And we scheduled it in showing time, request inspected, and then the selling agent said, wait a minute, they made a non-contingent offer. What the heck are they inspecting for? Canceled, you can't inspect. If you make a non-contingent offer, you're not inspecting my home.
Mhm.
So we're gonna inspect after they take,
You have to close.
after they've closed, and then they're in the property, we're
That
gonna
makes
go and
sense.
inspect.
Nice.
Well, we're out of time. Thank you so much. Take a cookie on your way out.
Yeah.
We got a lot.
Yes, thank you
Thank
guys.
you.
Really appreciate it.
Tom will get these out too.
And we do offer a coupon for the people who have used us for the first time. So your clients get $50 off.
Wow,
so-
nice.
Wow,
Make sure Alicia's aware of it.
thank you.
Thank you.
And because we want to develop a long-term relationship, we're in this for the long term as you are.
Was somebody going to give us their number in case a situation ever called up that they said they respond in a quick, timely manner?
Yes, I will email everybody, because I think it's just Stephanie and Christine.
There was 3 people on Zoom. Was there 3?
I'll give.
No.
Stephanie, I'll
She's talking
email
to
you Alicia's number.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much.
Yes, absolutely.
All right,
Cool.
lead away.
Thank you guys so
Thank
much.
you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank
Pleasure
you.
to see you all.
Yes.
Thank you for the
Thank you.
cookies. Oh.
That good, huh?
No. No.
What's going on?
Oh.
Appointments held or appointments canceled?
Neither. Both. Just
All of it?
Haven't made enough calls today.
Well,
Just because we're
I
doing
don't
a lot
know
of.
where I'm gonna, I need to have a cloning machine where I clone my time.
Yeah.
Be in two places at once, either clone me or clone my clock.
Yeah.
Or not
I think if
necessarily.
either were possible, there would be a lot of happier people. And I'd be really happy. Yeah, that's.
Oh.
I learned I have sleep apnea.
Oh no.
I was like, really?
Did you have a machine?
There, I'm going to not go right to the CPAP thingy.
Oh, there's other options?
There is.
Oh.
I only have like a mild version.
Oh, good.
And they think that could be contributing to my shortness of breath throughout the day because my lungs apparently go too low in the evening or something. Really, what are you doing, computer?
Where are we at with our new stuff? Tuesday.
I didn't include you that.
Oh, probably. I'm sorry.
You're okay. Although my some popped up on my one of your recruit appointments. I think I emailed you, but I scheduled the email to come into your mailbox on Monday morning.
Oh.
Because I'm like, we'll just schedule the send on that.
Okay.
About you, there was a recording of an appointment.
Oh. With
Did
Dan
you want
Winger.
me to keep that?
Sure.
Okay.
Just like safe. Do we have some crack that somewhere? Okay. I don't think there was anything important on there, but we're going to meet with him tomorrow.
Okay. It was one of those, I was going through that secondary Zoom account and I was going to delete it. I'm like, I asked Olivia, she's like, check with Melissa when she's back.
Yeah.
Deal.
I do that. I just, in case we need to remind ourselves what he said.
Yeah, absolutely.
Why? What are you doing to me?
Oh my gosh. How dare you?
Just kind of